Our next speaker has been very outspoken and vocal in his support for the MEK, most recently in an op-ed last week in the New York Times. I ask you to join me in welcoming Director Lewis Free, Director of the FBI under two presidents.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Rajavi, thank you again for leading this and getting us all together here. Even the New York Times agreed with the characterization of you as charismatic, so we all share in that description and appreciation. I want to particularly thank our European colleagues, Mr. Stevenson, the consensus that you represent here on this continent. Congratulations and thank you very much for what you've done. To our friends in Camp Ashraf who I know hear these broadcasts, we want to offer our support, our affection for you, our respect and admiration for your courage. I'm convinced of one thing, that at the end of all of this, the forces for Iranian freedom, which you lead and represent, at great risk and sacrifice, will prevail. And I think that's a belief and a conclusion that is absolutely inevitable. So congratulations to you. You know, we're very frustrated, particularly speaking on behalf of my American colleagues, many of whom are not here. We are extremely frustrated with our government. We love our country, we respect our government, but we are extremely frustrated with the delay, the silence, and the facilitation that our government currently is causing with respect to the imminent harm threatening the 3,400 residents of Camp Ashraf, and more importantly, the suppression impact that it has on the forces of freedom for Iran. We have talked about this for months, in some cases years. We have urged our President and our Secretary of State to act in conformance both with the law and the facts, and to delist this organization, the MEK, from the Foreign Terrorist Organization list, a designation that they should have never made in the first place in 1997, 14 years ago. They are in contempt of a federal court in Washington, D.C., which ordered 14 months ago that the Secretary show cause or describe the sources upon which the State Department relies to continue this designation. And as I said last week, we've heard nothing but silence and delay from the Secretary of State. We urge our President, we urge our Secretary to decide this issue immediately and fairly and in accordance with the law and the facts, and to immediately delist this organization without any regard. Because as someone said earlier, it's not just the passivity of listing and not acting, it's the facilitation and the invitation, and as Governor Ridge said, the license to kill that this provides to both the elements of the Iraqi government that are under the control of the regime in Tehran, and the license to kill members of this organization, using the kangaroo courts of Iran to arrest, torture, and murder anyone who whispers support not just for this organization but for freedom and liberty. So the listing is a very critical and very dangerous aspect that has to be undone. You know, as you sit in this room here, you look at these flags behind us. It does call to mind the days and threats and terrorism of 1933. When the world learned that you cannot appease tyranny. You can't do it in 1933, and you can't do it today with the regime in Tehran. The United States has a long memory and history with respect to this terrorist regime, as it was correctly described. But it has also had a policy of appeasement towards this regime, which continues today. When the Marine barracks were attacked in Beirut, hundreds of U.S. Marines were killed. The United States, under a Republican president, reacted by withdrawing armed forces from the Mideast. and so on and so forth, up to today's challenges and threats and outrageous conduct, criminal conduct and acts of war by the regime in Tehran against just the United States of America.